Well, I was going to start bringing lunch. I brought a lunch yesterday, but I forgot today. So anyway, I'm eating another burrito. This time it's the breakfast burrito vegan style, which is actually pretty good. They're kind of spicy. They got jalapenos and the cheddar jack cheese and stuff. So they're pretty good. And of course, I got my booch, so I'm really digging these booches. I like these cayenne ones. They're really spicy, and they're pretty good. Well, burrito. How many up there? 28 of you guys? Baby bed bugs up. Yeah, definitely hit the like button. Helps to spread the video around, gets the algorithm moving. All right, 56 of you guys. So let's talk about this inverted yield curve. It looks like the 20-year yield is paying more than the 30. And now this is something that we had talked about just a few days ago. I said this is something you have to keep an eye on if it's going to become an issue or not. Well, I found a Wall Street Journal article talking about it. Now, typically when you see an inversion of the yield curve, this is when the shorter term treasuries are paying more than the longer term treasuries. And that's not usual. I mean, it's just like kind of taking out a house loan or a car loan or anything else. The longer term loan that you take out, the more interest that you have to pay. So the interest rates go up as you go farther out on the yield curve. And that, kind of makes sense to most people. But what doesn't make sense is when the shorter term starts paying a higher yield than the longer term does. And that's what they refer to as an inversion of the yield curve. Now, when it starts to become extreme is when you have, like, say the 2-year crossing over the 10-year, like the 2-year starts paying more than a 10-year. That usually is like an indicator of like recession on the horizon. Right now, we have the 20-year paying more than the 30-year, but it's not quite an indicator of like bad times ahead, at least according to the Wall Street Journal article. And it makes a lot of sense because when you have to think about like these markets, it's all about liquidity. Like, how well are you able to get in and out of that market without a lot of like interference or being burdened by like not being able to find a buyer or not getting it at the right price. When it comes to these treasuries, this is one of the most liquid market in the entire world. So if you want to get in and out of this market, it's like almost no trouble at all, which makes these treasuries almost as good as cash. Except right now we have this 20-year that pays a little bit more than the 30-year. And the reason behind that is because of that liquidity. There's less market participants in that 20-year treasury right now, which means that if you are going to participate in that 20-year treasury, they're going to ask for a little bit higher premium for that, or essentially a higher, premium for it, because there is less liquidity taking place there. So the investor would be nervous about whether or not they can get in and out of that market as easy as they can the 30-year. So that's probably one of the reasons why we're seeing that 20-year moving up above the 30-year. At least at this point. But what I do find interesting is that if you go all the way down to the very short end of the yield curve, you're going to see that the 1 month is actually paying more than the 30-month, or the 3 month. Sorry, guys. The 1 month is paying more than the 3 month is, which is also an inversion at the short end. So both at the long end and the short end, we have these tiny little inversions taking place. It's like these two little hooks going on there. I have a feeling that if this kind of grows towards each other kind of thing, that we might end up finding that the yield curve is inverting, and this is the beginning of that inversion taking place. But whether or not that actually ends up being the case, we still have to see how that goes. But if it was, when you start to see the short-term treasuries rising, think about that. That's like when they start to, the interest, the yields that they pay, when they start to rise to the same level as the long term, this is the investors getting nervous about the short-term future coming in. Like, they don't want to tie their money up for this short amount of time because they are very nervous about what can take place there. So that's why they're asking for that higher yield when you start to see that short-term treasuries rise and the long-term stay still. If they're in fear of inflation, then you would see that long-term treasury bills rise, the like the 30-year, the 20, you would see those ones starting to move up as the investors are fear of the long-term inflation that's going to be coming. So that's where you see, like, you know, the yield curve. It's a real important to keep your eye on the treasuries and what's going on as far as the yield comparatively throughout the entire curve. Makes a lot of sense. So anyway, what do you guys want to talk about? You are so handsome. Thank you, baby. What's up, UE? Love your videos, man. Thanks for what you do. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. Look at all these happy Thanksgiving. Hey, Simon, finally, I can't even say my own name. Finally caught you live. Right on, Kevin. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hit the like button. Yes, please. Definitely hit the like button. All right. Oh, thank you, baby, for the $5. Appreciate it. So, anyway, you guys have any questions, or what else do you guys want to talk about? After I upload this video, I tell you what, I'm going to leave a link to another article that has to do with the video that we were talking about yesterday with the securitization of, like, well, we were talking about collateralized loan obligations, but I found this article that was really good because basically a lot of these people who build these securities, they're securitizing everything right down to like gym memberships and stuff. It's a really good article. So I'll leave that in the description of this video after I upload it. Any black swans still on your mind? I don't know about the black swan events. I mean, like, something like Evergrande could have been a black swan event that still hasn't really, like, manifested itself into something that's, like, you know, engulfing the entire world. Whether it starts with Evergrande or something in that similar nature, that's where I feel is probably going to be, like, the major issue is going to be, like, a corporate debt bomb going off or something. Hey, Simon, thanks for all you do. Any updates on the Chinese bond market? I mean, I don't really have any updates on it other than, you know, the difficulties that they are going through as far as some of these construction companies, like the Evergrande, like we were just talking, as far as making their debt payments. You know, these dollar bonds, they are very difficult for foreign nations to start paying when you start coming into liquidity crunch, and especially when you start seeing like the US dollar index rising comparatively to the basket of world currencies. These nations or these corporations who have issued bonds inside of US dollars, they need to come up with those US dollars to pay those bonds. And if their currency is depreciating to the US dollar, that means they have to come up with ever more increasing amounts of their currency in order to buy those dollars to pay back their bondholders. That's where the US dollar index rising is going to start putting a burden on the rest of the world. It's, you know, it's definitely something to watch. China is building a new Disneyland. They are going to call it Never Evergrande. Updates on your new house. You know, we're just learning to be comfortable there. You know, we had a lot of stuff. We kind of moved quickly, so we're still filtering through a lot of the stuff and realizing that we probably have things that we really don't need. Switching out some of the fixtures and stuff like that, but really enjoying just being there. It's a very peaceful place, and you know, the family's really enjoying it. Thanks for asking. Silver probably going down in Turkish lira too. I don't know about that. Going down in Turkish lira, I'm pretty sure their currency is like not doing well, and I can't imagine silver going down in their currency. It could, I guess, if, like, you know, I mean, it's anything possible. But I would just assume that if you were to compare like silver and gold to the rest of the foreign currencies or the world currencies that are out there that are not the US dollar, I would assume that you're probably going to see the price of it go up. At the same time, you may see, like here in the United States, we may not see gold and silver move at all because of the US dollar index moving up as high, you know, as fast as it is. So, do you prefer manual or automatic cars? Manual cars. But it's hard to find manual cars anymore. It's like hardly anybody buys them. Everybody drives automatics. I mean, I can't even think of the last time I had a stick shift. I mean, it's been a while, but I'd rather have a manual than an automatic. Where do you see lumber in the spring? I think that's probably going to be a better question to ask probably after the new year sometime. We're going to see what these tariffs are really going to be like. I was just reading an article on how Invert has just purchased a big chunk of land and mills over in the eastern part of the country, over in Canada. So once that comes online as well, I don't know how much production of that is actually going to be ramped up, or how much of that is actually going to make it into the United States as far as after the tariffs and stuff. That's going to be a lot of questions that we're going to need to find out before we can really determine what it's going to be like come this spring. As of right now, I would not imagine there being like an event like we went through with the lumber prices. Like I could see maybe 700-800 per thousand, but I just like 1,000 per thousand in the lumber futures. I can't see it staying there for any length of time. I mean, that's me personally. I couldn't. Let's see. What do you think about the WEF's latest videos where they promise a snowstorm cyber attack will freeze our bank accounts soon? I don't know. It sounds like a threat, and I don't know. I don't play into threats really well. Like, I mean, I'll take it into consideration, but I don't consider man, I better start doing something about it. I don't know. I don't really get into threats. Have the milk house heaters gone up yet? If not, scary. How are they keeping the price down? The retail price on them is around $30, and they seem to be on sale regularly at $24.99. I have not seen the milk house heaters change price. I have not seen felt paper change price. There's a few items in the store, like just little tiny items that I find here and there that actually have dropped in price, like 50 cents or something. Nothing major, to say look, this is the deflationary scenario, not even close, nothing like that. But yeah, there's some items that still haven't changed price yet, and that's one of them is it's the felt paper and stuff. How much higher do you think Treasury yields can go before the Fed is forced to bring them back down? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on how much pain they want to inflict on everybody, because that's really what it's going to be like, is how much, can the markets tolerate, and how much willingness is the Federal Reserve going to allow it. I guess that's all probably going to start playing into politics and how much they want to start changing the way things are done. There is no better way to change the way something is happening without a crisis. Anytime there's a crisis, they always institute new changes into the way things are done. So if they inflict enough pain with the rising of interest rates, then yeah, you can start really changing a lot of stuff, a lot of the way things are done. So do you think that Cantillon effect is in full effect? Yeah, so now the Cantillon, okay, so Cantillon. Let me see if I can explain it really easily. We actually did a pretty good video talking about the Cantillon effect, where, let me see if I can explain it the way he did in his essay, because what he was talking about, because they didn't have fiat currency back in his day, they were talking about silver, they used silver as money. And the way he described it is that, say a particular area all of a sudden just had a big silver mine come online, and all of a sudden the silver started coming into use. The people who had first access to that silver are going to be able to spend it pretty much at face value, giving them the best benefit to having access to the silver first. What will eventually happen is that it will drive out the production that's taken place within that region, and they will start purchasing foreign production because it's cheaper. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, I'm really glazing over this really fast, but that's ultimately what the idea is that as this new dollars come in and it grows stronger than the things that they have here, the people who are acquiring this money first, they want the nicest of things, and they will start searching out into the foreign lands out there basically to get it. And this is where the production of the local areas start to diminish, and the people who live there have to leave. And that's kind of the Cantillon effect from it. At least that's a brief description. I don't know if I did that right, but anyway, that's kind of the idea. I think the increase in energy price is real, but the most of the other increased prices is just profiteering. Yeah, I can believe that. How do I start a YouTube channel about being a rookie homesteader hobby farmer? Okay, this is something that we're going to be talking quite a bit about coming into the future here, because I'm really like on board with trying to get people to start their own YouTube channels. And it doesn't have to be on economics. It can be on anything. So like, for example, you want to start a hobby farm, and how do you start your YouTube channel? You start by making your first video, right? You got to get a video out there, and then you got to start finding somebody who to share your video with, whether it's friends or families, or maybe like homesteading groups or farming groups or something like that. Then you start sharing your videos out there. If you put out boring videos, then people aren't going to watch them. So you have to put out videos that you would want to see. Like if you wouldn't want to watch it yourself, then why would you post it for somebody else to watch? So if you can come up with a video that you feel is at least interesting enough for you to watch, then you start posting it with other people to see. If they start interacting with the video, like in the comments section, listen to what they say. They're going to tell you, hey, I like this about it, I don't like that about it. You got to listen to your audience, because what you're going to do is you're going to find that niche. And it doesn't matter, like, I mean, take example for me. I mean, I'm in a space in which I really have no business being in. I mean, talking economics from a street level perspective with no education and no like investments or like anything to say, hey, look, I've proven my case here or something. Like, I don't have any of that. But I'm coming from a working class point of view. I'm bringing in macroeconomics, thoughts and perspectives. I'm bringing up articles and stuff. And this is really where like my niche came in, is that there's not a lot of people who are in that position doing that. And I mean, there is a lot of people doing it, but that's where I found my niche, is that, there's not a lot of people who are doing that kind of thing. And so, it gave me a little bit different ability to promote my stuff in a way that a lot of people who are talking economics can't. So that's what you have to do. You have to find your niche, and you have to listen to your audience, and that's probably like the biggest part. And getting started, I mean, that's the hardest part, is getting started. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Daniel. How do I start a YouTube channel about shaving Wookiees? I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'd like to see a video on that. Have you bought EE T-bonds? Man, interesting enough, I actually own some of those. But I never actually, well, no, that's not true. I did buy some for my kids. So yes, I do own some. I bought some for my kids, some savings bonds. I guess the idea behind those is that if you hold on to them for long enough, then they'll double in price, or double in value. But it's hard for me to imagine that would be like the investment to be in. Like, I wouldn't have a problem like having that as part of the portfolio, so that some of your money is going to double over that amount of time. But really, it's like over the course of like 25 years or something, you have to wait to do it. And at least that's the case with the ones that I had. So I don't know if it's like a really great way to go about it, but it's certainly not something, in my opinion, not a bad idea to have. So anyway, let's move on here. What do we got? Buy silver for your kids. Absolutely. That is a great idea, buying silver for your kids. You shouldn't sell yourself short. There's a lot more to it than you understand. You got it right. There's a lot more. Yeah. Even people who really understand economics miss out on a lot of information or just a lot of perspective, simply because they are looking at it from such a high elevation that they just don't even have the same view of it anymore. And that's where, like, again, having a channel like this gives a different perspective that a lot of people in this space aren't giving. Thanks for catching my question. Yeah, not a problem. Did I catch your question, Jaws? Let's see here else. We are in a new monetary policy where free market will play a much less role in determining these capital flows. Yeah, I believe monetary policy has pretty much come to its end. Once it hits the lower bound, once you have zero interest rates, dropping of interest rates is no longer an effective tool. And the Federal Reserve knows this. I mean, that's why there's so much fiscal stimulus happening. All this government spending is because, like, the Federal Reserve's like, if you really want to, keep this thing going, you're going to have to do a whole bunch of spending, because we can't drop interest rates to get everybody else out there to do it. So you're into it. That's you. That's, it's all government now. Your video channel is excellent. Your framing is a trademark look, and your content is naturally accessible and very informative. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You did the hobby farming one? I have a hobby farming channel. In fact, I might even fire it back up now that I'm back out in the country and might start raising chickens. And I was thinking about doing some, using one of those containers that I have because they have electricity and water running to them. So I'm thinking I might do some indoor gardening or something like that. Now, I'm not going to grow weed. I'll probably grow vegetables or raise birds or do something like that, something that I'm really into. But I do have a hobby farm channel that was called Everyday Napa. But I haven't posted anything there in a long time. But I might fire it back up. If I do, I'll start giving you guys links to it. Let's see here. Where do you buy your silver or gold and silver? I like to go to my local dealer. I like to buy from Clatsic Coin here in Astoria. He's my local dealer. A lot of times when you go to the local dealer, you're going to find that the premiums there are just a little bit higher than, say, online dealers are. But it's in your hand right now, and you don't have to worry about shipping or getting lost in the mail or something like that. So I like to buy from my local dealers. That's where I go, is the local coin shop. UE, do you think there is any bank reporting to the IRS in either one, or do you think there's any bank reporting to the IRS in either one of the stimulus bills? I didn't read any of the stimulus bills, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if there's what they're going to do with the IRS and all that. I know that they are probably going to crack down on people who are trying to, evade taxes and stuff like that. And once they have the central bank digital currency up and running, there will be no avoiding it. You will have no other choice but to do it. So, go good Black Friday deal, silver at spot price. Wow, that's really good. If you can get silver at spot price right now, I'd be all over that. Hi, Uneducated. I buy it at JM Bullion. Yeah, there's a lot of online dealers out there. I don't try to promote any one of them in particular, so I just, I kind of search through a few of them. There is one that I like to use occasionally, and again, I'm not trying to promote their stuff. I'm just going to let you know who they are. They're Monarch Precious Metals. They have these really cool sugar skulls, these little 2-ounce kind of Day of the Dead skulls that I think are just cool, and I give those away for gifts every once in a while. So I had purchased those a while back, but again, I haven't used Monarch in quite a while. Like I said, I like to go to the local dealer when I can. Don't buy gold and silver from APMEX. Okay. I purchased from APMEX in the past. I never had any issues. I don't know why that would be the case, but I don't know. I guess you got your reasons. I just picked up 32 ounces Wall Street bet statue. Cool. K-shaped recovery. In the words, the next 5 years seem very difficult to predict. Who will be the winners and losers in the economy? Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one to say. I mean, the next 5 years, who knows what can happen? I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 months? Are banks more reluctant to lend for new builds? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know why they would be reluctant to do that. I know that like trying to price out material there for a while as the prices were dropping as fast as they were or rising as fast as they were was difficult. But I don't think they're having any troubles like getting new loans. I don't know, maybe. The bank tracking thing has to be on a separate bill if it wasn't in the stimulus packages. Yeah, we'll find out. Have you been preparing for Gammon's Rebel Capitalist live event? I haven't. I got about a month to come up with something really fun to say and talk about for 40 minutes or whatever. But I haven't, and I'm a little nervous about that. Silver is a good Christmas present. Yep, it is. I've received silver for a Christmas present, and I was quite happy with that. Did you ever consider being a welder by trade? No, I've welded a few times in my life just for fun, but I've never considered it as a profession. They screwed up my orders. Oh, they screwed up your orders. I see. Well, that would probably be a reason why you wouldn't want to use them. I didn't have any issues using them, so. Fuel and food, as well as other items, are being deliberately withheld to cause disruptions in the and alarm into panic. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the supply chain was deliberately severed, and I think the problems with it are still persistent, but I don't think it's like, I don't know. I guess they could probably keep it going, like with some of the restrictions as far as trucking and stuff like that going in the California area. I can imagine that, it's being done deliberately. Um, I just think, honestly, I think the supply chain severing, just breaking that down was enough to screw this up for a long time. How long were you a construction worker, and what was our specialty? Well, I did construction for, I don't know, probably like really heavy for maybe 7 years or so. And mainly I framed. I would frame roof and side. That was like kind of my thing that I would do. So yeah, I enjoyed framing. It was tough on the body, but what was cool about framing is that it really, you had a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day, because you would have something, you'd have like this foundation there, and then all of a sudden there's walls standing up, and then pretty soon you have this roof, and you got this huge structure there, and people are just amazed by you. And until the framers have done their job, none of the other trades have anything to do. You can't run electricity or plumbing or HVACs or anything until the framers have built the house. So it's like, to me, like framing was the awesome event. It was like, putting the structure together. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, electricians run the underground. Opinion, infrastructure bills. To be honest with you guys, I don't read into these infrastructure bills, like especially like coming up to the vote, because they're constantly changing, and it's such political mayhem going into it that I'm just not into it. I just don't follow it. And although there's a lot of economic events that take place because of that stuff, I just pretty much, I try not to waste too much time on stuff that isn't going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen with these things. So after it takes place, then I'll start figuring it all out. But until then, it's just so much confusion that goes into it. It's mind numbing. I don't deal with it. You're the farmer of this nation. Why do you think Japan's CPI is still at the pre-19? It's because they can't get inflation over there. It's like I don't know. I guess you have to follow Dr. Lacey Hunt and see some of the things that he's talking about to really understand why it is that you cannot print this amount of money and have interest rates this low and then expect inflation to come from it. What it does is it slows money velocity down, and then you have a lack of return on capital investment. That lack of return on capital investment means that there's less money going to be spent into the economy. That slows down. Even though you print up all this money and you inject it in, it's like getting a shot of drugs, And yeah, anytime you ever get a shot of drugs, you're going to feel awesome, right? And you think that the world is going to be awesome and that this will never end. And then one day the drugs wear off and you realize that the pain and the misery is still there. I mean, that's why Japan can't get their inflation. They have a demographics issue. That's right, the older population. I mean, that's something that we're facing here as well. I mean, when you have an older population that is retiring and spending less money, that is like a burden on the society. And you got like a bunch of people who are taking from the system and less people contributing to the system. That's going to be burdensome. It's going to start bogging things down. Any young guys on here consider joining the dying trade of machine shop, lathe mill, CNC, which will be huge demand in the years coming, big money to be made. I'm just saying. Yeah, I think that I think you're probably fairly accurate on that until like the wave of people who see that come into it. So that's one of the things that I kind of get concerned about, is that when you have a lack of a particular trade like we're experiencing right now, then you have a whole group of people who are like, man, I'm going to get into that trade because they make so much money. And then you have a flood of people who come into the trade, and then now everybody is just like, man, I can't find the work I need. it happens. Now it's hard to see that taking place at this point, but that sort of thing does take place. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Would let's see, be the other trade I would be interested in. I don't know, like it's to be honest, like I think over the course of the next few years, I'm thinking whatever it is that the baby boomers are going to need, and they're probably going to need a lot of health care or services or things to take care of them. They have the money, and I don't know how it is that you get them to give it up to you, but that's really where I think that the money is going to be made for the people. After that, I don't know. It's going to be really strange times because technology is moving so fast. It's hard to say what is going to be available for jobs out there coming into the future because you don't know what technology is going to be like taking over what positions. First live cast I've been able to watch. Congrats. Great job on the channel and information. Thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate that, man. Buy any stocks. Heard gold miners were doing well. What's your portfolio like? I buy a little bit of stocks, but it's more for observation and educational purposes than it is because I think it's like, the investment that I really want to be into. But I buy as Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. I buy Vanguard Russell 1000 Growth Stock ETF, and then I buy the ticker symbol is MO, Altria. They Marlboro cigarettes and Budweiser. I don't smoke or drink myself, but I am familiar with addiction, and I hate to say it, but I don't think that it's going to go anywhere. There are a lot of people doing CNC work in Michigan at the common moment. Yeah, I can see where there would be a lot of people working that. Let me get back here a little ways. Wasn't there? we have to sign the bill to find out what's in it. Yeah, I remember that Pelosi statement. God, that was just, yeah, you have to, we have to sign it to see what's in it. God, that was so ridiculous. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. Yes, even with the college degrees and now a trade under my belt, I'd like to continue learning in order to keep up with the technology. Yeah, well, you always have to constantly be learning, constantly keeping up, because everything is evolving. Everything is constantly in a state of change. Like even doing something as simple as doing sales here at this, where I work. I work with this, with an older guy who has been here at the store since like the 70s, right? I mean, he has seen a lot go through this business. Well, he's partially retired now, so he's not really in the game as much as the rest of the salesmen are, and he's really kind of lost touch, like on what products are available, like what pricing is, how quickly these things are available, because he's not in it every day. So even though he was like at one time like one of the best salesmen in the area, since he's retired or partially retired, he's kind of lost touch with a lot of it. So you have to constantly be updating yourself in the industry in order to stay up to date in the ability to do sales. I mean, that's and what products are coming out, the new techniques, how the distribution network is working. There's a lot to know, and you have to, if you're not like constantly updating yourself on this stuff, you're going to miss out on sales. I mean, it's just the way it goes. I have about 5 more minutes, guys. So, man, these live streams go amazingly fast. Make Amazon Pay is going to happen tomorrow. I really wonder what you think about the whole idea. Make Amazon Pay? Make them pay what? Exactly. Hydrogen is real good. Let me see. Get back up here a little ways. Who else we got? I thought there was even follow the channel called Reventure Consulting. You both think alike. Yeah. Yes, even with the college degree and we already read that one. Okay, let me go back down to the bottom here. Even widening technology has a cause and effect. Yeah, that's right. I worked at NASA and got fired for eating during lunch. Oh, during a launch. I'm sorry. I was like, how can you get fired for eating during lunch? During a launch. Okay, that might make sense. What? Well, I mean, I guess they figured you weren't doing your job at the time. Well, you eating pretzels? All right. Putting the potato chips down. Put the potato chips down. Yeah. Curious about your feeling on acquiring a large debt burden from your mortgage while also having a thesis of future deflation. Yeah. I wasn't excited about it. I was not excited about taking on that loan. Many of you know that I was trying not to. I was actually trying to find a place to rent because I didn't want to take on any more liabilities. I wanted none, like zero liabilities. And my whole idea from that point on was that I just was focused in on nothing but assets. That's all I wanted. No liabilities and assets. And it didn't matter to me. Like, people were like, well, you just wasted money in your rent or whatever. I just was like, I didn't care at that point. Rent meant that I didn't have a debt burden. It meant that I didn't have a liability. It just meant that I could only accumulate assets if, as long as I didn't take on any debts. But that all changed. And so now I have a huge debt burden. But I put a decent amount on the house, which I had to. Like, I had no other choice. I had to come up with this big down payment because of my past history with foreclosures. So as long as the house stays, somewhat above water, then it makes me feel a little bit better about doing all this and having this debt burden. If I feel that the house is above water, meaning like I could sell it for more than what I owe on it, then it doesn't feel like a burden that I am like stuck with for the next 30 years. Like, I feel like I could get out of it if I wanted to, which makes it a little bit better than saying you're going to have to do this for the next 30 years and you have no other choice, especially, before, when I owned a house and it was underwater, you couldn't even sell it out. You couldn't even sell to get out of it. So yeah, then it was like a real burden, it was a real pain. But I'm excited about being at a house. I'm excited about having my own place. I'm excited about working on it. I'm excited about what the future is going to be like being there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying having this house and being on the property. I'm not excited about making 360 debt payments, but I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to try and pay it off quicker than 360 months. I want to have it done much faster if I can. The first payment is due in December, and already I plan on making an overpayment on that first payment so that every payment from now on will be an overpayment. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get this thing paid off, but I want to be out of it. And when I am out of it, I want to be debt free from that point on. So the quicker I can get this house paid off and back into no liabilities and assets again, that's what I'm shooting for. So that's my goal. All right, guys, I got like 2 minutes left here. Oh, I got another super chat. $10 from Soma. Thank you so much. Thanks for the vids. Any thoughts on how tech is changing your job building industry? It's when it comes to framing a house, outside of the fastening techniques like using nail guns and saws, there's not a lot of difference in the way a house is framed today from the way it was framed, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Now, again, like the saws, the nail guns, a lot of that, technique as far as the carpentry work goes, a lot of that has been updated and refined. A lot of like new technology is moving into, like, say, building wraps or, some of the accessories to the house, like windows and doors, like the way they are able to manufacture these things, make them more efficient. But as far as like I see a lot of people say, like, these 3D printed homes. Well, I see a lot of those things are like concrete, like cement based, applications. Like, it's this machine that runs around and puts a layer of concrete over and over again until they build these walls up. Well, I think to myself, it was just like, I live in a really bad weather area, and 9 months out of the year it is raining. And it just makes me think that trying to pour a little concrete strip out on during a downpour in the middle of winter is probably not going to be the most effective way of building a home. So although those things would probably work in an area where, the weather was more conducive to 3D printing, in my area, I just see the old school framing with wood being really the only way of building around here. Again, there's the insulated concrete forms like the ICFs and stuff like that that could be a little bit different, that a lot of carpenters around here aren't really doing. But again, I just see the old school wood framing as being the most popular way and the most efficient way of building a house in our area. Some builders experimenting on using less nails. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why you would use less nails, because the overall cost of nails going into a house really isn't that much. So even if you were to double the cost of nails on a house, it really wouldn't add that much to the overall, price of what it would cost to build. So I don't know why a carpenter would save by using less nails. I mean, and it's not like they have to swing a hammer. They just push a button on a gun and it bunk, and there it is, 2 nails. And what's the hard, how hard is it to throw a third one in? So, UE, long lunch break, you must work a union job. No, I need to actually go back to work right now because I get an hour-long lunch and I have been out here for 40 minutes. So, all right, guys. Man, that time goes by so fast. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me like you do. 338 of you, 170 likes, the wonderful super chats that you guys offer up to me. That is so rad. I mean, I really enjoy doing these things. So I got to go back to work, though. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.